Being a student as a millennial comes with new experiences and harder challenges. I follow two stories from recent graduates to gain insight into their university experience and life thereafter.
My name is Eva and I'm 23 years old, from Portugal, and a recent graduate of medical physiology with clinical science and clinical neurology. I moved to England when I was 14 years old. I came with my parents and my brother. My parents came because they believed that this is a country of opportunities, so they wanted a better education for us. When I started school, it wasn't easy at all to adapt, especially because of the language, English. I had to learn English and study extra hard to get good grades in school. In college, I did BTech in medical science. I couldn't do A levels because I didn't get grade C in English. So I chose the BTech, which was not a bad course at all. I enjoyed it. And after that, I started applying to go to university, nursing courses, but was not lucky enough to get into a nursing degree because I did not have experience. Since I didn't have experience, I then chose to do medical physiology in clinical science. The course was about how the body functions with in health and in disease. Is that English? In health and in disease? That's not English. In third year, I also studied neuropharmacology. Hence the reason why I decided to then go into neuroscience. I applied to study my master's in Sheffield, the University of Sheffield, where I did clinical neurology. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to study clinical neurology in Sheffield, and it was an amazing course. I was really happy when I received the news that I was going to get the scholarship, because it was a weight of... Como é que se diz? Sorry.
Your shoulder.
I was really happy when I received the news that I was going to get the scholarship, because it was a weight of my parents' shoulders, let's say. I did not have to think about the money. It was basically just concentrating on getting the grades, finishing the degree successfully, which I did. So after university, I started applying for jobs, healthcare assistant, research assistant, clinical physiology, but was not lucky. I was not successful at all. So because I needed the money, I started doing a part-time job in Cabana, which is a Brazilian restaurant, and I worked there as a bartender. Been there for about 3 months now. I did not think it would take me as long as 3 months to actually get a job after graduating from a master's. I did not think it would be as hard as that to get a job after graduating at all. I believe that nowadays it's really hard to get a job unless you know someone from the inside, someone who can at least get you to the interview stage, and then maybe work experience and maybe start working there after a while. I find it's very disappointing, especially because I did not expect to be where I am now after graduating twice with good grades as well. 87% of students from UEL are in employment in comparison to 70% of non-graduates. So statistics says that most of us do get a job after we finish university, but that's not always the truth.
I'm Samia, I'm 27 and I'm a photographer from London. I went to University for the Creative Arts to do a BA in Contemporary Photographic Practice, but to qualify for an arts degree at that time, everybody needed to get an art foundation, so I had to do an extra year at the beginning of university before I went off to do my 3-year degree. And then after that, I worked for a little bit and then I did a master's in photojournalism from University of the Arts London. And also I studied in America for a while at Maryland Institute College of Art. So in total, I've been in art school for 9 years. And yeah, it was a mixed bag of experiences. It was good and bad. I didn't particularly enjoy it at all, but I believe it was the training and discipline I needed to kind of launch my career, which I now have. But lots of people sort of do a degree in the arts, just a BA, and then they don't do anything with it, or they find it really hard to break into their industry, which is why I feel like the MA really helped. So since the MA, I've just finished it like in January, and when somebody found out that I was doing this MA, I was working for a charity called Centrepoint, and they had a Christmas appeal come up with the Evening Standard. So it's the biggest Christmas appeal, charity appeal that happens in England. So it's the biggest charity campaign. And I was hired, literally headhunted, because I was doing this MA. And I got to shoot loads of images for The Independent, The Evening Standard, The Guardian. I got to art direct photo shoots for Deliveroo, Airbnb. I got to produce those photo shoots. I also got to write. I also write. So my writing's been published in The Guardian. I wrote some press releases that were sent out to all the national news media. I write copy for the CEO that goes to print the next day. Like, it's a bit of a whirlwind from how hard it was to get just a work experience placement where you're unpaid, to now basically choosing and picking the jobs I want, which is really nice. So my whole life is like based around university, because I was from a family that nobody in my immediate family finished university. Also, they all wanted me to like have a very conservative South Asian life where women don't really do much. So I found like education as a way out. I'll just wait for these people to pass. All the people I knew, like my mentors and people that I looked up to, they all told me that university is going to be the time of my life and it's just going to bring everything that I've always wanted. And I didn't really take myself to be a naive young person, and I didn't go to uni to like have fun. I was pretty serious, but even for me it was a massive letdown. I think because of how serious I was and how mature I was, and the subject that I chose, which was photography, those two things don't really match up. Like, I think I was too serious in the way that Oxford students probably are, and those kind of people. And not that I think anyone should put themselves through pain during education, but that is how I was. But then everybody was like super chilled out, and all they wanted to do was like go out, and nobody really cared about what we were studying. And that part was the massive letdown for me. And if you go and study a creative subject, most of it is self-taught. So I had to teach myself how to manually use my camera. Everybody kind of like looked down at you if you didn't already know by the time you came to your university degree. So I was like really scared, thinking I can't let anyone know I don't know how to use my camera. And I used to like diligently like force myself to work. It was just not what I was expecting. But at the same time, I chose a degree that allowed me to do what I wanted, which was go abroad. It was the only degree that allowed me to study abroad, and traveling was more important than education at the time. And also it was the most open degree that I could find in England. So even though I got into University of the Arts, which is really known for its reputation, but I chose to do my BA at University for the Creative Arts. There was not really anyone from my like social background or ethnic background on my course, and whenever I spoke about my work, people couldn't relate, because I did a lot of social documentary, and lots of people shot fashion at that university, but they don't tell you that. They tell you it's an open BA, which is a lie. The university is actually completely focused on fashion, because one famous fashion person came out of it a long time ago, and now they're just completely obsessed with fashion. And I wish they'd told me that before I went on the course, because it's not what I'm into at all. But it's fine, like you get an input from different people, I guess. But that's another thing that was different. When I studied abroad in America, everybody, the same subject, everybody like came into the class and they all spoke to you, and everybody gives you feedback. But in England, when you go to a critique, everybody's just like looking up at their, like being really pretentious to, not everybody, but it feels like that. And, they'll support their friends or like work they get, but they won't speak if it's work that they just really don't know anything about. Whereas I always gave feedback to every single person, and like tutors would say to me that I was helping other people out, but when it was my turn, nobody said anything, and it just really annoyed me, to be honest. I felt like I was paying all this tuition just for a piece of paper at the end of the day. So yeah, that was what it was like. I thought it would be really great, and I'd finally find like these like-minded people I've been looking for, and it really wasn't the place to find those people. I found them now, but those people were not at my BA. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I made it sound really bad. It was though, I hated it. I think focusing on whether or not a qualification is worth it is really detrimental, because at the end of the day, it's the whole life experience. You can't just look at it as a piece of paper that's going to get you into a really high salary job, because that's not realistic anymore. And it's not fair even. You need to have the experience. You need to have like people skills, life skills, and understanding. You need to have empathy, plus your academics, plus your work experience for it to equate to something. I think it's really sad when people attach their self-worth to the grade on this piece of paper. I mean, lots of people have like anxiety, and like life still happens whilst you're getting this qualification. So you can't just say, oh, I didn't get a first, so therefore I'm nothing and I can't get these jobs. And that's only going to lead to you having a worse outcome and like getting crap jobs and only accepting rubbish jobs for yourself, or applying to rubbish things, or becoming demotivated. I think if you think of it as, okay, that was worth my time, I've got some projects that I made and a qualification, and I've made some contacts, and you like keep going forward, even if it's not the result you wanted, you'll still get somewhere better than if you just sat down and cried and thought, oh my God, I can't do anything with this degree. And I think a lot of it comes from old generations. Some of it is cultural, but a lot of it is just to do with how the world used to be for the baby boom generation. People in their 60s, they just think, oh my God, if you went to university, you were somebody, and why are you applying for so many jobs and you're not getting them? I'm sick of hearing that one. Applying for jobs is now an art. There's so many people, and there's so few jobs that employers can be really relentless and really horrible and not call you back or let you know what the reason was that you didn't get a job. So it's not necessarily the fact that you are not good enough for that job. It's a lot of the times they already have someone they want because they are spoilt for choice, and you just have to accept that. And when you do, then the world is open to you, and the world has never been so open to young people. Like, we can work anywhere in the world, especially if you're born in England. Like, we're really lucky, and you need to stop looking at what you can't do and what you actually can do, and that it's going to take more work than you initially thought. That's it, really. You can be happy, just chill out. The thing that's different with our generation is that before you could just go to university, come out, and you'd have any job you wanted. Now it's so different because everybody goes to university. I don't think that should be a bad thing. I think it's good that everybody's getting educated and learning stuff, but it just means that the world is just that much harder and more difficult to get into your industry. So despite having several degrees, you still need work experience to help you get that job. And if you haven't been doing both at the same time, you will struggle when you come out the other side. Whereas because I left home when I was 16, and I had no like financial support or family support. And because of that, I always had to work. So I made sure I was doing photography work alongside like working in retail. And that really helped because now I can walk into like any job and people hire me because I've got the experience and I've got the qualifications. I think people should concentrate less about what others think of them, because that's what the problem is. Like in London, that you find lots of people who are getting their PhD and they're working in really bad retail jobs because it just pays their tuition, doesn't take away their focus, and they get what they want at the end of the day. But the problem is, lots of people will judge you if you work in a really rubbish job, right? Because we live in a superficial society, unfortunately. So when I was getting my MA, I was working in a really, really horrible McDonald's in Dartford. And it was just really run down, the area was run down, and there were employees there that would make fun of me. They thought I was really posh, and they thought, what the hell are you doing in McDonald's if you're so posh? They used to try and like belittle me because I was trying to get an MA, but I worked in McDonald's. And the employees, like some of them were teenagers, they would come up to me and they'd be like, well, you're no better than me because you're 24 years old and you're working in McDonald's. Like, I'm 17 and I'm working in McDonald's. And stuff like that, if you have very low self-esteem, it will make you cry. And don't get me wrong, when I was working 40 hours a week, had insomnia, and I was doing my coursework in the middle of the night, it would make me cry sometimes. But at the end of the day, you have to like refocus, know that your goal is to get past this rubbish job and get your qualification and then move forward. And like, I didn't even have to try, but I ended up working on this Evening Standard campaign, becoming published all over like national news, whilst I was still getting my MA, by the way. So I went from McDonald's to this, and now I'm working for different NGOs that I really care about, and like shooting and filming creative stuff. So this is like so hard to get. It's so hard to find a job that you really care about, and also it utilizes all of your interests and skills. But now I'm like spoilt for choice because people want to employ me. If I'd focused on the fact that I was in a rubbish job and that's all I am, there, and failed my MA, then it would have been just that. I would have been just somebody working at McDonald's. But instead I was like, no, this isn't my end goal. I'm here to pay my tuition because I don't have anyone else to help me do it. And lots of people are lucky and they have other people in their life that can help them with anything, like, I don't know, cooking, whatever it is, helping with your laundry. I had none of that. I did every single thing. And sometimes it's really exhausting and it is really depressing. It can be really depressing. It can make you feel sad. It can make you lose sight of your ambition. But I just let it like drive me. I'd get really, if I got upset about it, I would let it like really drive me, and I'd do more hours in that shit job and basically get my qualification. In the end, I paid off my MA with no interest, like in full, as if I had all the money at the beginning. So that for me is like a really big deal, because I've got friends who are like in debt and they don't really take that stuff seriously. But for me, I was like, I'm taking care of my stuff. Like, I'm taking care of tuition so it doesn't get in my way in the future. And now I have nothing to worry about. My money is just mine. So you just have to like be less superficial and like less tunnel vision. And a lot of voices, like especially older people, they'll say, oh, I didn't have education, or I didn't have the luxuries you have, and they'll try and make you feel bad. But you have to understand that their life and their view is very different to what we live and our existence and reality today. And it's not your job to necessarily educate them, because that's exhausting, but you don't have to become like devastated because other people are commenting on your life. It's not their life, it's yours, and you know what you're doing. So as long as you're like focused and you don't let people bring you down, it's going to be fine. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's really like as simple as that.